Willie, thank you so much for doing this. I'm really looking forward to the next 20 minutes. My God, he's taken his jacket off, so this is going to get pugnacious from the beginning. Willie, first, very obvious question. Are you the right guy to be at a low-cost airlines conference? What the hell are you doing here?
I'm asking myself the same question, yeah. Well, no, I've got a low-cost airline in the group now. In fact, I've got two low-cost airlines in the group. Vueling, which I think would be familiar to most people and is a recognized low-cost point-to-point airline. And we've also got Iberia Express, which is a lower-cost version of Iberia. It's ex-fuel unit cost 40% lower than Iberia, and that is a low-cost airline that is providing feeds to the Iberia long-haul operation.
So in your view, what is the definition of a low-cost airline? Is it all about the ticket price, all about a consumer getting a better deal?
No, it's all about the cost. I think you have airlines out there that label themselves low cost, but don't have a low cost base. So, when I talk about a low-cost airline, I talk about an airline that has a low cost base. And, I think we'd all have to recognize the lowest cost base airline around is Ryanair. Vueling is second to Ryanair, but clearly not as low in terms of its cost base, but better than EasyJet and better than some of the others out there. So it is about managing the cost base in a way that makes the airline as efficient as possible. I think the other aspect to it then is the service that you offer. Is it no frills? Or, as in the case of Vueling, for example, they have, a product offering that would not be considered truly low frill. So I think you need to be careful in terms of how you define it. Yeah. Low cost to me is about the cost base, and it is about ensuring that you've got an airline that is as efficient as it possibly can, and it's something that every airline in the world should be aiming for.
But that's the point, isn't it? Isn't there something slightly bizarre in your position? You are the imperial master of this huge sort of aviation business, and you're telling me there's only one bit of our business that is truly as efficient and as low cost as it can be. I mean, when you look at Vueling and the way they operate, don't you think, Jesus Christ, why aren't we doing this and using these practices in the rest of our business? It's insane.
Yeah, but what you've got to recognize is that Vueling is a new airline that was established without legacy issues. In the case of most established airlines, we've been taking it from where they were to make them more efficient. But the business model is also very different. British Airways provides a very different type of service to Vueling and to most of the airlines that would be represented here, and some of that you cannot do in a true low-cost fashion. You cannot provide first-class services with the configuration that we have in our aircraft and argue that you've got the lowest unit cost available, because clearly we're using a lot more space to provide the premium services than we would if you were just flying in an all-economy configuration.
All right, but you did say, interestingly, early on when you were talking about Vueling, that you don't see it as truly low cost, that there are elements of what Vueling does that are more geared to the mainstream, maybe traditional airline offer on service and comfort. So tell me what you think, having thought about it for your own group, what you think the low-cost traveller, consumer, wants out of a low-cost airline today and going forward?
Well, the great thing about it is there's no such thing as a single consumer or consumer type. There are lots of consumers, and the brilliant thing about it is consumers have great choice today. So, they can choose to fly with Ryanair, they can choose to fly with EasyJet, they can choose to fly with British Airways. So consumers look for many different things. And what we have today is a hell of a lot more choice for the consumer, much better choice for the consumer than we had 20 years ago. And I think, we should recognize the fact that the airline industry has gone through significant change, much of it driven by the emergence of low-cost airlines who have put pressure on the traditional airlines to improve their cost base and offer or to be in a position to offer prices that are more attractive to the consumer. So, the consumer has been the main beneficiary of the developments, I'd say, over the last 10 to 15 years. What we've got to do from an airline industry point of view is start recognizing that our shareholders shareholders need to be the beneficiary of all of this, because you can't have an airline industry that is competing aggressively but not making money. And that is, I think, the big structural challenge that the airline industry faces. So some airlines are profitable, but many airlines have not. And we're going through a period of significant consolidation, and that's taking many forms. We're seeing some weak airlines disappear, and they should have disappeared a long time ago. Some struggling airlines, I suspect, will disappear and should be allowed to disappear, and the market should be allowed to operate. And airlines that have not been generating the levels of profitability that would be considered acceptable are very much more focused on delivering returns for their shareholders that reflects the fact that this is an industry that has to return its cost of capital, has to exceed its cost of capital if we're to continue to invest in bright new shiny aircraft that we've all gone out and ordered.
Yeah, because you like going shopping from time to time.
We don't actually. No, we don't. It is a feature of the industry that the manufacturers are developing aircraft that are particularly attractive to us at the moment, and these represent an opportunity for us to improve our performance. So 787s are significantly more efficient than the aircraft that they will replace. And when fuel, in my case, it's 33% of my cost base. When fuel is the highest element of your cost base, anything that you can do to improve on your fuel performance clearly has an opportunity to improve in the bottom line performance of the business.
Again, getting back specifically to the low-cost element of your group, do you see scope for more growth in your... I mean, you're a big fan of consolidation. You talk about consolidation a lot, but is there growth to be had in Europe?
Yeah, without question. For efficient airlines who are profitable and can expand in a profitable way, there's absolutely no shortage of growth out there. I have no concern about
Where would you...
all over the place. What you have is a situation where the general economic environment in Europe is weak, but it's slightly better than it was. So if we just look at the European landscape, you've got traditional airlines retreating because they can't make money, and we've done some of that.
Yeah, you've done plenty of that.
I've taken 20% of capacity out of the Iberia short-haul operation. We've taken capacity out of the British Airways short-haul operation. Initially, we grew capacity.
Take more out.
Well, we grew capacity when we acquired BMI, but we're now utilising Heathrow slots that were being flown on short-haul for long-haul expansion of British Airways. So you're seeing a switching capacity from short-haul into long-haul.
And that's an admission of defeat in a sense, because people like Michael O'Leary are just taking business away from you consistently.
Well, you've got to look at Heathrow as a specific airport. Heathrow is a very expensive airport. It is an airport that is better suited to long-haul flying than short-haul flying. BMI made a 200 million loss on turnover of 918 million in its final year of operation, principally operating from Heathrow Airport. That is because the charging structure at Heathrow is designed to be more attractive to wide-body long-haul operations than it is to short-haul. So the idea that you can compete strictly on fares, operating from a high-cost airport like Heathrow, competing with airports that are much lower in cost, is a nonsense. You're not going to win that one. Unless you have something truly unique in terms of your internal costs, you're not going to win that one. So, Heathrow is an airport that is not well suited to competing with the likes of Ryanair. And we would be mad to try and argue here that we could do that. We can't. So we do what works for us, and what works for us is expanding our long-haul network at Heathrow, supported by an efficient short-haul network. But that short-haul network is designed to provide business connectivity to our customers and designed to provide a network that feeds into the long-haul hub. And that's how our business model works at Heathrow.
Well, in that case, with the focus on long-haul, how frightened are you by the prospect of low-cost airlines moving in a much bigger way into long-haul flying?
No, I'm not frightened. Some of them have tried to do it, and we've already seen several so-called low-cost long-haul airlines appear and disappear. It's a very different environment to the short haul, where I think there was huge opportunity to improve in terms of performance, getting much better utilization out of the aircraft, turning aircraft around quicker. It's much more difficult to do that with a long haul operation. So if you look at asset utilization on long haul, it's difficult to see how you can squeeze a lot more utilization out of long haul aircraft given the way they're operating, multiple time zones, the challenges that exist in the turning around of large aircraft compared to narrow-body aircraft. So it is slightly different, where
But with the greatest of respect, I mean, you know, the traditional airlines have always said that, and yet, you know, people who are investing their own money and therefore taking these things pretty seriously, looks to me, are now seriously thinking they can make money on a low-cost model running long haul.
Yeah, but there are lots of people, with the greatest of respect, who have said that and have lost a lot of money. You know, so the difference here is how many of them are actually going to be profitable doing it. Well, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. You asked me, was I concerned about it? I'm not concerned about it. And I'm not concerned about it for a number of reasons.
But could it lead you, do you think, to looking at running a new offer on some of your long-haul routes, cheaper, lower cost model?
But you can only offer cheaper, lower cost if you have a cheaper, lower cost base. You know, this industry has to be an industry that makes money. We should stop apologizing for the fact that we're in business to make profit. And I think, you know, when you look at the historical levels of profitability of the industry, it's been unacceptable. So I'm in this industry, I'm in business to make profit, because it's the only way I have a sustainable future. And I'm in this industry to ensure that my shareholders who support me and provide me with the capital to compete in this industry are rewarded for doing that. That's the challenge. Now, you know, the more we have people talking sensibly about it, the more we will have a sensible industry that can be effective, can compete, can provide services that consumers want. But, you know, the opportunity for somebody to come in and compete only exists if they have a truly lower cost base, not if they label themselves low cost. And there are lots of airlines out there who started up, put a label of low cost on it, have never made a single cent of profitability. You know, so having a label of low cost does not provide you with a guarantee of success. Operating in a low-cost environment, managing your cost base, controlling costs where they're controllable, driving the costs down where you can eliminate costs, driving for efficiency where you can identify inefficiency. That's what the industry is all about. And more of that is what we are doing. So we have adapted, because we've had to adapt to survive. I think we've adapted well, and we will continue to adapt, because the job is never done. Anybody who says they've achieved everything they can achieve in terms of efficiency, you know, is codding themselves, because there's always something else that you can do to make your operation better. You know, there's always something new and innovative that's coming along that will give you the opportunity to improve your performance. And that's what you've got to do. You've got to keep looking at it. So, you know, we're in a much stronger position today, much better able to compete, because our cost base are lower, and we're targeting even lower cost bases. You know, we have a target in my business of driving down our controllable costs. There's very little we can do about fuel, so when we look at our non-fuel unit costs, it's all about improving that performance.
Does that mean more battles with the unions, not just in this country, but I'm thinking particularly in Spain? You know, you've had plenty of problems in the past, but are we to expect more to come?
Well, if I have to, yes. You know, that's my job. I'm not employed to have a nice time and play golf.
No, but equally,
I'm employed to tackle.
How is your handicap?
I've played in 8.5 years. I've been based in London. I've played 2 games of golf.
So I can see tears dripping down people's cheeks as they think of.
But my job is not to have fun.
Listen.
It's great if I can, and I do have a lot of fun. But my job is, I'm employed to tackle the issues that are challenging the industry. And if that means, you know, tackling trade unions, well then that's my job.
That's right. But equally, shareholders do not want to see protracted strikes, labour unrest, and the sorts of, you know, negative publicity that frankly drive customers elsewhere. And that is a possibility. If you have to do
I disagree
more.
with you. I think shareholders will support that, provided it is in the long-term interest of the business. You know, we have faced opposition, but that opposition has been to structural change in our cost base. And structural change in the cost base is something that shareholders will support, because that is what will provide the opportunity for superior returns in the long term. So if it's structural, and everything that we have pursued in terms of cost has been, I would define it as structural and long term, then you'd be surprised at what shareholders will do.
Getting back to the customer, the passenger, do you think that the absolute bare bones service that the traditional low-cost carriers have developed is going to evolve over the next 10 years, and that when we see, for example, assigned seats being woven into their offer and other adaptations, that's because the customer is wanting more than the absolute bare bones service?
Some customers do, and so some customers don't. And I think what's happened in the industry is, more and more the customer has the option to acquire these additional services in some cases if they're prepared to pay for it. And that's no different to any other industry. We've taken the approach at British Airways that the product is not going to be completely unbundled. So we will continue to offer a service that has certain aspects that other airlines will charge for. We'll offer that as the...
You never, ever can contemplate going on a BA flight and being charged to put, your bag in the hold, still less your bag in the overhead in the cabin?
I would never say that. We've introduced what we call hand baggage only fares at British Airways. So this is a discount to the bundled fare. If you don't have a bag to check into the hold, you will get a discount on the fare. That's a different approach to, we'll have, if you like, all of the fares lower, and then you have a charge to check in the bag. So you can approach it in very different ways. But I'd be foolish to commit my business and say that we will never do something. We're not intending to do it, because we've analysed these issues and we believe it doesn't make sense. But in parts of my business, it will make sense. And where it makes sense to do that, we will do it, because we'll be driven by the customer. I think in the past what happened was airlines told the customers what they wanted, rather than the customers being truly allowed to tell the airlines what they want. And you've got an environment today where people have choice. And if you want additional services, you can pay for them. And we've introduced services that we didn't have in the past, where we have introduced them but at a fee. So for example, and this is where there's always great confusion. You can reserve your seats on a BA flight in advance for a fee. You can check in 24 hours before departure and select the seats that are available at no cost. We never used to offer a service where you could check in greater than 24 hours in advance. So when we said, will we offer that service, the debate was, will we offer it free or will we offer it at a charge? And we concluded that we would offer it free to some of our customers, gold card holders, but we would charge other customers who want it. Not every customer wants to check in more than 24 hours in advance and select their seats, but it is now a choice that our customers have. So the business model will adapt, and it will adapt to suit the customer. And if the customer doesn't like what it is you're offering, the customer will go somewhere else. So we don't need this to be regulated. What we have is a truly competitive industry where people have choice.
And a final point, we'd mentioned this word consolidation. You've talked a lot about it. Again, look into your crystal ball over the next 10 crystal balls. No, don't do that.
My AC/DC song was, I had that one, big balls, isn't it, sir?
Yeah, well, we've got
the biggest balls.
We've got golden balls, David Beckham, and we've got Willie Walsh crystal balls fly in the skies. There's tomorrow's headlines.
You've forgotten what you're going to ask there, isn't it?
No, I'm just about there. Consolidation. You bang on about it a lot. I mean, look over the next 10 years, and how much more in the European market, how much more consolidation is there going to be?
I think the consolidation in the European market will be through weak airlines disappearing. And they will leave gaps for the efficient airlines, and those that are efficient and can grow into those gaps and do so profitably will fill any capacity gap that's left.
So will the big groups like yours be looking to acquire more low cost? I mean, you talked about, you're obviously very proud of Welling and Iberia Express, and are you going to be looking to accumulate more?
Only if it made sense. So when we look at the European landscape, we don't see anything that is attractive to us in terms of acquiring it or merging with it at this stage. Our view is that there are plenty of airlines out there who are available to be acquired if you wanted to, but quite honestly, most of these airlines are unprofitable, have weak cost base, weak market conditions and positions, and you're better off just leaving them alone.
And you carefully said Europe there. If you broaden your horizons, what are you looking at that you do find attractive?
No, the landscape in Europe, I think, is clear to everybody. Ultimately, we would like to be in a position to consider either acquisitions or mergers on a truly global basis, but that's still very, very difficult with ownership and control regulations. No,
totally.
Qantas will do their own thing, but we're not looking to do anything with Qantas other than to co-chair with them where it makes sense for us and Qantas to do that.
All right, Willie, thank you very much. So we'll take two or three questions now, and then we'll have more chance to talk to Willie as part of the panel later on. But sir, you had your hand up at the back. Have you got the microphone now?
Yeah, Oliver from Fly Global. I'd just like to ask if there's going to be any progress with the Seppler Pilots Union. Are you close to an agreement, Willie?
Well, when we have reached an agreement, we'll disclose it, but we don't provide commentary on an ongoing basis.
Blimey. It's like getting blood out of a stone, isn't it? Who else wants to bash their head against this brick wall? Come on. Loads of people. You're not all going to get a chance right now, but Willie's hanging on for the panel discussion, so we'll get more chance later. So you've got...
I got the mic.
Oh, who's got hands up? Who's got the mic? I can't see with this light.
Right at the back.
Well, okay. Well, you've been gazumped, I'm afraid, but you'll be next.
Yep.
Go on,
right.
sir.
Shashank Nigam with Simplifying. Good morning, Willie. You mentioned, controversially perhaps, that you should be listening to the customer as opposed to be telling the customer what they should be doing. And recently there was a very infamous British Airways customer service issue on Twitter where a person whose dad's bags were lost bought a promoted tweet for $1,000 and got 75,000 impressions, while British Airways customer service on Twitter woke up at 9 and said, hey, please DM us your information. Do you see that as a trend that you'll be adapting to? Is 24/7 customer service through social a thing of the past or a thing you're looking at?
No, I think social media is clearly something that we've all got to adapt to. We're very clear, on our Twitter account that, we do say that it was operating from 9 until 5. Whether we change that will be something that we'll review, but we've got to be clear that social media and the impact of social media is probably one of the biggest challenges that the airline industry faces, and getting your digital strategy right will be, something that's very important to all of us. So, we're responding to changing behaviour, and I think all airlines will do the same. So, I think we've done some good work there, but it's clear to us that there's an opportunity for us to do some better work in that area.
I mean, changing a culture takes a long time. How far through that process do you feel you are?
You're never through the process. The problem with culture change is that because it's so difficult and because it takes a long time and because typically CEOs, don't hang around for a long time, they're reluctant to start difficult culture change programs because they don't actually see the benefit of it. I think that's the biggest failing of CEOs.
But you've been around for a long time, 8 years, isn't it?
8.5 years.
So are you going to pledge to all of us you're going to stick around for another 8 so you can see all this stuff through?
The challenge is whether I stick around for another 8 or not. The challenge is CEOs have to start the process. Even if they don't see the benefit of it.
I get you, yeah.
Others will. And that's, I think, something that the airline industry has not done well, that we've tended to embark on change programs, but people want to see immediate results. That's foolish, because in some of these areas it will be 10 years before you see the results of your efforts. So you have got to always look to adapt the culture. And as I said, I think that's the responsibility of any leader in a business. Not just to adapt things that will provide you with the short-term benefit, but to adapt things that will provide long-term benefit for the business.
All right, one more, and then we'll move on to our next guest, but we'll be back with Willie later. So you were very patient, so can we get the microphone to the front? And there you go.
Good morning, Willie. Ray Massey, Daily Mail. You've been very open in the past, in word and deed, about cherry-picking certain elements of the low-cost airline model, even with a brand like British Airways. What other areas are you interested in, and how low can you reasonably go?
Well, we're interested in anything that makes sense from a consumer point of view, and we're interested in anything that can, structurally change the cost base. So, without question, I think one of the areas of huge success for the low-cost carriers that all airlines have adapted to is distribution through the internet, for example. So distribution through new digital channels will be, I think, a key area of focus, because anything that we can do there has the double benefit of improving customer service and reducing cost.
But do you see yourself going down the route of actually penalising people, for example, who don't print off and collect their boarding pass online?
No, we don't feel that it's necessary for us to do that, and we've absolutely no plans to do that. We provide, services where you can check in online and you can get, and as a lot of people do here now, will get their boarding pass on their iPhone or whatever phone they have. That to us is very efficient. It's clearly much more efficient than the traditional way.
But if you're, as committed and passionate as you are about driving down costs, then introducing some sort of, differential, which means a penalty for those who don't do it, has got to be the way to go, isn't it?
It makes sense for some people to be very strict about that. It makes sense for others to look at areas where customers will value the service. Now, do you want to get to a situation where you're introducing penalties that actually end up irritating customers? There is a fine balance between, can you drive behaviour and get the right result, or can you introduce systems that just really pisses people off? And I don't.
Are you suggesting some of your rivals piss people off?
I think there's one or two of them that have done that. Yeah. Not in this room, obviously, but I have seen it done.
No, really?
I've heard stories, horrible stories.
Scary. It's scary out there.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But I think the thing we've got to be prepared to admit is you should never be so proud that you can't recognize where somebody else has done something smart, and recognize the value that could have to your business, and recognize that if you adapt your business to take advantage of that, it makes sense for you. There are people who will like to claim that they introduced certain things. Who cares who invented it? If it makes sense for you to use it, well, why not use it? And that's exactly what we're doing. We look all the time at our competitors. In fact, we should have been doing this, I think, a lot better over the years, and trying to spot what they've done that's smart. And if they've done something smart that we can copy, I've absolutely no problem copying it if it makes sense for my business. But the idea that we have to invent everything in the interest of our customers is a nonsense. We're in business to make the best of what it is we can do, and if somebody else has done something smart and we can copy it, then that's exactly what we will do.
Okay, right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please give Willie Walsh a very warm hand for a fascinating 25 minutes.